Welcome to Downtown Sports. My name is Downtown Stephen Brown, and in today's video, guys, we're going to be going over some news, notes, and rumors, and what the moves that the Maple Leafs made on Saturday might mean for the rest of the offseason, because we're getting more and more of a clearer picture. So the Maple Leafs started the evening off by trading Andreas Johnsson to the New Jersey Devils for forward prospect Joey Anderson. The move can be viewed as a straight cap dump because New Jersey's going to be picking up Johnsson's full contract, but I don't think that it is just a cap dump. He's a 22-year-old winger. He's 5'11", 190 pounds, so he's not exactly a small guy, but he does have some offensive flair to him, producing 6 points in 18 NHL games this past season. But the AHL season there is interesting to me. He's a former third-round pick, and I believe he also captained the World Junior Championship team for the United States in 2018. If we're looking at Johnsson and Anderson's age 21 seasons here in the American Hockey League by points per game, Johnsson's on the left, Anderson's on the right. This is not a guy who has top 6 potential like Andreas Johnsson had, but definitely a guy who could be a useful player in, I guess, your bottom 6 or your top 9. His ceiling is probably a decent third-line winger, but I mean, I'll definitely take the cap space in the meantime. And if you'd like a scouting report on Joey Anderson from someone who used to work with the Devils at the time they acquired Joey Anderson, Rachel Dory here saying that they viewed him to have the same type of potential that Blake Coleman did, or hoped that he would develop into a Blake Coleman when they first acquired him. I'll leave a link to this thread in the description of the video if you want to peruse through it. And then the Maple Leafs went out and got Stanley Cup champion Zach Bogosian on a 1-year, $1 million deal. Which, if we're looking back on this quote from Kyle Dubas, I guess Zach Bogosian kind of fits that description. I mean, he is a right-handed shooting 6'3", 221-pound defenseman, and if we're looking at his career so far, he has played almost 650 NHL games. But I'm having a difficult time reading this signing just because we also know that Kyle Dubas says that they plan to play Travis Dermott on the right side next season. So when we're taking a look at this armchair GM here, I'm not 100% sure how to gauge Zach Bogosian because I don't necessarily think that he's good enough to knock out a guy like Justin Holl. And I also don't think that he's necessarily better than Travis Dermott as well. And you're also not going to sit Justin Holl and his $2 million per year contract on the bench most nights in favor of Zach Bogosian. I mean, if Bogosian gets into 1 out of every 3 games or so, you can justify leaving $1 million on the bench. It's not going to hurt you to have a competent 7th defender. If anything, this just means that we're never going to see Martin Marincin again, and I think that a lot of people can be happy about that. If we're looking at Zach Bogosian's numbers throughout the playoffs, I mean, not the greatest, but not the worst also. I mean, he has played with the Buffalo Sabres for the last number of years before joining the Lightning last year, and he still is a decent penalty killer, which has value to it. We saw what happened when Jake Muzzin went down with injury in the play-in round versus the Jackets. They had to put Martin Marincin in the lineup because they didn't have another penalty killer, and that really did cost the Maple Leafs. This is by no means a player that should displace Justin Holl in the lineup, but I do like Zach Bogosian's unique skill set in that he will lay down and block shots, he will throw hits, he will drop the gloves, he will be a tough SOB. I'm just not seeing it. He's better than Martin Marincin, but he's not better than Justin Holl. I mean, through 7 regular season games with the Tampa Bay Lightning, he played with Braden Coburn, who I don't believe played for the Lightning in the playoffs, but that D pairing was decent for the Tampa Bay Lightning in terms of expected goals for and expected goals against, at least. And then in the playoffs, he spent the majority of his ice time paired with Victor Hedman or Ryan McDonagh, and he was really only good with Victor Hedman. I don't really know how much that's saying. I don't necessarily think that the Maple Leafs are done making additions. This is just day 2 of free agency, and we still have until January for training camp and the season to even start. If David Savard and Mackenzie Weegar are available via trade like they've been said to be, I would like the Maple Leafs to at least inquire about them because those 2 guys are definite upgrades on Justin Holl. Bob McKenzie said that this guy is available and looking for around $3 million. He's a left side defenseman who shoots right, so I can't imagine the transition being too difficult for him. This is a guy who is a clear-cut upgrade on Justin Holl. I don't know. Does it cost you Kerfoot, Dermott, and a pick to acquire Mackenzie Weegar? Is it Kerfoot, a prospect, and a pick? I don't know. I don't necessarily think that Dermott is on the move because they're saying that they project him to play on the right side and they're talking about signing him to a cheaper one-year deal or so. I don't know, but then again, if you have an opportunity to acquire Weegar, I mean, he's 26 turning 27, Dermott's 23 turning 24. They're in and around the same age, and Weegar's a lot better than Dermott is right now. Especially when you consider that he's 6 feet tall, 200 pounds, throws hits, and blocks shots. I mean, theoretically, if it did cost the Maple Leafs Kerfoot, Dermott, and maybe another pick on top of it here, I can understand why they did acquire Zach Bogosian because I would be fine with him playing on the third pair. But they would still need to move out Justin Holl as well. And you're going to see in the top right-hand corner here, that would leave you with about $2.7 million to go out there and acquire another third-line center, which in this market is a very generous and healthy amount of money. If Kyle Dubas is talking about wanting to be tougher to play against, that defensive core is definitely tougher to play against than what it was last season. Brody's a clear upgrade on a guy like Cody Ceci. Weegar's a clear upgrade on a guy like Justin Holl. And Mikko Lehtonen could at least be what Tyson Barrie was last year. Hopefully better defensively and a little bit more well-rounded, but you get the point. Suddenly, you're looking up and down the Toronto Maple Leaf lineup here, and they got Jason Spezza, who got into a fight last season, Wayne Simmons, who's one of the toughest SOBs in the National Hockey League, Jake Muzzin, again, one of the toughest SOBs in the National Hockey League, Mackenzie Weegar, who will throw hits and body up, TJ Brodie, who's not necessarily a physical guy, but not the smallest guy either, and Zach Bogosian, who we watched all playoffs long with the Tampa Bay Lightning, definitely does have an edge to his game. And to improve upon my Seattle expansion draft idea in the video that I posted earlier, I had a conversation with Todd, or Totally Offside, on Twitter, and he mentioned that it's probably better off doing that with Zach Hyman than it is Mackenzie Weegar. And if you're confused as to what I meant there, there's a nifty little trick that the Maple Leafs can do to not protect Zach Hyman, but also protect Zach Hyman at the same time. So this is a little bit wordy and a little bit complicated, but I'm just going to try to read it the best that I can. For example, Toronto elects to leave Zach Hyman exposed in the expansion draft. Seattle will have the opportunity to speak to Hyman from the 17th to the 20th, or whatever days, to discuss a contract. If an agreement is in reach and an official deal is signed, Hyman becomes the one player Seattle has selected from the Maple Leafs. His contract that year will be used toward the 60% cap rule, and no other team ever had an opportunity to negotiate with him. Let's keep using Zach Hyman as the example. Since he is under contract with the Leafs until the end of the season before free agency starts, the Leafs may negotiate a future contract with him anytime between now and the expansion draft deadline. Say they come to an agreement but don't sign an official deal. The Leafs can leave Hyman unprotected. Seattle will have the chance to offer him a deal, but he may already be unofficially signed in Toronto, allowing the Leafs to protect a different player without the chance of losing Hyman. It's a risk, but one likely worth taking on a player who can be trusted, and I think we can trust Zach Hyman. So in this scenario, the Maple Leafs would protect 8 skaters and 1 goalie. No idea who the 1 goalie is, but their 8 skaters would be the big 4, Austin Matthews, William Nylander, Mitch Marner, John Tavares, and then the top 4 on defense there. And you're not really leaving anyone else out, especially if you're already trading Travis Dermott. All of the Leafs' young players and prospects, guys like Nick Robertson, Rasmus Sandin, and Timothy Liljegren, are all exempt from the Seattle expansion draft because they don't have enough pro experience yet. So at worst, the Maple Leafs might be losing a guy like Pierre Engvall to the Seattle expansion team. I like that idea a little bit better than the one that I presented in the video earlier today. But for now, the Toronto Maple Leafs lineup is shaping up to be something along the lines of this. They'd have to give or take, obviously, a couple $100,000 here or there to their lineup to be salary cap compliant, of course. But I still do think that they make more moves. It's just day 2 of the offseason. But make sure to let me know what your thoughts and opinions are down in the comment section below, and make sure to leave me a like on this video if you did like it, and subscribe for more, because more is always on the way. And guys, remember, Kyle Dubas is doing some decent work here so far.